think we just need one.
Yeah, I just need one.
Okay. Cool.
Morning.
It's actually afternoon.
It's afternoon. How do we start this?
I guess we just introduced everyone to what we're doing. This is the first episode of our podcast that we are experimenting with. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. What's our aim with this?
So I think our aim with this is mainly to something to look back on, something that we can reflect on in years to come, of what we were doing at certain points in time. So it's mainly for us, I guess, but also, you know, something we can share with other people who, I don't know, either starting their own business or wanting to do something slightly different, I guess. And because I think we've sort of got a lot of experience in terms of like setting something up, you know, and coming from, you know, the uni sort of route, and then deciding not to use our uni degree in any way at all, and deciding to take a risk and start what we've started, I guess, which is, how do you describe what we do?
So I guess someone asks you, let's say you're on a night out, let's say you're out with your friends, meet someone new, someone goes to us, oh, so what do? You work in finance or whatever? Which is, I guess, the majority of what our friends do, finance and marketing and things like that.
Yeah, the corporate sort of
And I don't know, I would say, like, I have a business, and then you get into talking about it, and I'm like, we have a creative agency that produces content, mainly, I guess, in the fitness space. It's kind of what we started out doing, and then moved more into doing bits of everything, which is a lot of fun, because you get a lot of diversity, you meet a lot of different people, you meet business owners, and then you meet people who are athletes, and I think that's the interesting thing.
It's always different. It's always different, the sort of workspace we're in. It always changes, and every week it's a very different kind of thing. Why wouldn't you say videographer? Why wouldn't you say, oh yeah, I'm a photographer or a videographer?
I don't know, that like being a videographer is fun, and obviously that's how we started out, but the scalability of being just a videographer is hard. You can only do a certain amount of jobs a week. You can only edit a certain amount of jobs a week. And my idea with all this, and our idea together, is to grow it into a business where it's scalable, and therefore you can't be doing every film. You can't be making every video. You can't be going to every shoot. You've got to have a trusted team around you that sort of will do all that stuff, and you're there managing it, so you can be doing 10, 15, 20 shoots a week. If you want to go down the route of mass shooting, or if you want to go down the route potentially where we want to go in the future, but it takes time to build, there is of doing 2-3 shoots a month, but there's a lot of planning that goes into each of those shoots.
Yeah, like bigger budget shoots, and then you manage big budgets, a good team, instead of taking on loads of work and managing lots of smaller shoots, which I think I've realised just through doing a little bit of that myself, that is not really the route I want to go down.
No.
But who knows? I think we're both sort of just going with the flow at this minute.
Well, it's how you start out. Everyone knows, and everyone who's watching this who's a videographer now, we all know that when you start out, you have to do a massive amount of jobs to get all the kit and things like that, to get the experience, to get the clients. You have to do loads of jobs. That's important. It teaches you, I think, certain skills, how to shoot on the go, how to work with lots of different people, how to work with some clients might be trickier, some clients might be easier. You get to know that. And it's important to make those mistakes at the start rather than making the mistakes further down the line with a big client. And then there's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of time and effort.
It's the slow growth, I think, isn't it? It's slowly building up the experience by doing loads of shoots and shooting for other people, so the pressure isn't all on you. You know, if you suddenly take on a big client and you're not really ready and not really experienced enough to manage that client, you could soon lose someone, and that's a good client that you've lost. So I think it's building up the experience slowly and just doing as much as you can right at the start, which is what we both have done, to be fair, like saying yes to every opportunity.
But like going forward, I think someone asked me this in Cornwall, we were talking during the rugby, but like, would I want to do big film shoots? Would we want to do like shoots on where there's massive teams? And I was like, to be honest, for us, it's not how we started out. We didn't go to film school. We didn't start out around that kind of like idea. We started out filming in a club, like on your own, and that was fun. And then we moved more into sport, where it's small teams. Like we work with small teams of people to create things, and I think that's a lot of fun. So like, my idea going forward, and like idea for us is you have a team of 5. You have a team of a videographer, a camera operator, a lighting person, gaffer, things like that. But everyone is so good at their job, but also able to do other jobs. I think it's an important thing of even these big film sets, you've got one person to do that job, and that's all they can do. And like that's really great, but actually when you want to keep a small team, everyone's got to be able to like pick up a camera and just shoot stuff. That's how you get raw content. That's how you get sort of I think a good piece of content.
Yeah.
But you want to be good at what you do. You need to be really good at sound, but also be able to film.
Oh, for sure. But I also think going down the film route specifically, like narrative film, I think I don't know, I think it's the time that it takes is you got actors, you've got, there's so many different aspects that are needed to be perfect, and the reshooting, the constant like reshooting, and I don't think that's obviously it's the same with what we do. Like if we're doing more commercial style shoots, like we do need the shot has to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I think the narrative film approach isn't really why I started doing it.
No.
I just like creating cool videos and making it look cool.
Yeah, and that I think it kills. It's a problem with any sort of thing. When you've got to do something repetitively and it's the same shot, same thing over and over again, like sitting in an office and looking at the same spreadsheet every single day, it kills the fun of why you started. You started it for quick, fast-paced things that don't take 7 weeks to film.
Yeah.
Because suddenly you're in the same space for 7 weeks. And the outcome is really awesome. It's perfect. It's absolutely pristine. But also the process of filming sometimes is as fun as the outcome, and the process of being around people that you really like, out in cool spaces, out in the out and about and things like that process is so important to your outcome. The outcome is one thing, but actually the process could be 10-20 videos that are actually like behind the scenes, whatever, that are really fun, that you look back when you're like, God, that was a really fun process, I want to do it again, instead of being like, that was a really cool outcome, but Jesus, that was a long slog of
and it kills the joy of it.
It kills the fun of it, and I think
if you were to tell your younger self 3 years ago today that you'd be doing this, what do you think you'd believe? Do you think you'd believe it?
Well, 3 years ago we were both at uni, second year. Second year.
COVID. It was in the mix of COVID.
The mix of COVID. Actually, a good time of our lives, to be honest. Quite a fun time at home, but also
But you didn't have
a time of our lives where I don't think we had like direction. There was no right. What am I gonna do after uni? I was like, right, I'm doing accounting and finance right now. I bloody hate it. It's so boring. Not to shit on anyone who does accounting and finance, but
that's a personal.
Personal. But I just wasn't enjoying it. I felt stressed. I felt like, for me, I need like to see a light at the end of the tunnel. I need to see like, oh, this is going to come out cool. There, I could see no light. It was just like, right, I've got to write essays. I've got to do this.
But you wouldn't have thought you'd be doing this.
But no, that's the thing. I was going to get like...
It wasn't the end goal. There was no like, oh, I'm going to start doing a video business.
And like that's the fun of what we've done, is we've kind of fell into it.
Completely, yeah.
And like just the luck of, a friend being like, can you shoot my 21st, do some photos, and then going on from that, maybe getting another one, and then obviously we both got jobs at uni shooting
in clubs.
The best way to start.
Beautiful scene.
Yeah, if you're shooting in a club right now, don't think that's all you're ever going to do, because you'd hope it's not. And then getting more clients just through the thing of being out on nights out, being out around people that need content, and like we know how much this industry is growing, and then therefore you talk to these people, they want content, you get, and it spirals so quickly. And for us, that's how it kind of came to where we are now.
It's just doing it, isn't it? I think for me at uni, like my main objective was, I want to earn more than £10-15 an hour doing Deliveroo. Yeah, that was my initial objective, was I just want to earn a bit more cash. And I remember someone saying to me, oh yeah, do you realise that you can earn £50 an hour shooting in a club? And then I was like, you know what? Like I'm at uni. I'm in a scenario where I have access to clubs every night of the week because it's a student city. And I just remember thinking, you know what? I've got a nice camera. I'm just using it for a bit of fun. Why don't I just send some messages to some of the club promoters and think, do you need a club promoter? I mean, do you need a photographer or a club promoter?
Yeah, side hustles is club promoter.
Yeah. Do you need a photographer? And I use, those 21st that I may have shot over the summer. I use that content to send over to them, prove that I could take a photo. And ultimately, that kind of led me to my first job, which was completely by chance. Their photographer had long COVID.
Yeah.
So I kind of got into that. I was in the right space at the right time, but it wouldn't have come about if I didn't kind of look for it and put myself out there.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, isn't it? It's you can sit on your laurels, you can sit around, you can send some emails, but actually you need something to back up these emails. You need portfolio. You need to be going out of your way to try and find this. So if you're starting out, I'd say the main thing is to do some stuff for free. Right at the start,
100%.
we've done loads of stuff for free. You go out, still do, and you just want to go out of your way to sort of do as much as you can for someone, and then over deliver. But then that also is it's self-investment. It's not just, I'm doing this for free. Like, oh great, this is going to go nowhere. You might get a job with them, and also then you've got stuff in your portfolio to then go to other clients and be like, right, this is what I can do. This is what I've done in the past.
But I think looking back on it, like I could have quite easily, just done that 1 year of club photography and thought it wasn't fun. Realistically, it was kind of rubbish. Like all my mates going out getting pissed. I'm there with a camera. People come up to me like, "Oh mate, why don't you just put the camera down for once and just come and join us and have some fun?"
Yeah.
And I could have very much just like, carried on doing a bit of club photography and then stopped doing that, earned a bit of cash while I was at uni, and then gone down the sort of corporate route. Yeah. But I think ultimately it was that one first relationship with that club promoter that I built. And he suddenly, he liked me. We got on really well. And he started saying, oh, well, instead of shooting just my clubs, why don't you come and shoot my boxing events around the country? Yeah. And because that was purely just because he liked me, right? Yeah. Like he could have got anyone to do that. Yeah. And he would probably, he could have found someone cheaper who lives in Manchester to shoot his event, for example. But, I was up for traveling. We got on. And ultimately, I started doing more projects that I liked doing. It wasn't just those club nights for the cash. It was like, oh, actually, no, this is kind of fun. Like, I get to go to these cool boxing events, create a cool video. That's what I like doing anyway. But also, I'm making some cash from it. So I think it's, you suddenly start to, as soon as you've got a relationship with someone, more opportunities come. And I think that initial relationship you build is the most important thing. And relationships are everything, because those good relationships lead to much better opportunities.
Yeah, and do you reckon then at the start it's about actually trying to get one client instead of trying to get 5? Is it trying to form a really good relationship with one client, hoping that will lead on to like lots of different things, and then you can expand, or spread yourself, do a bit of this, bit of that,
do everything you possibly can, but do it with a positive mindset of like, I'm going to help this person do better for their business or create better content. Like, not just doing it for the sake of, oh yeah, I'm just going to do the bog standard, take some photos, try and try and make it cooler for them, try and make it different. Because ultimately, having that one client, like, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You've got to expand, but also you've got to make sure you expand and still keep that energy of, being positive and wanting to help those people grow.
That's the thing. I feel like we started out on this. Like, okay, we talked about you could be doing a job in a bar at uni, whatever, making £10, and we can make £50 doing this. But actually, it wasn't always about the money. We've always loved photography. We've always loved like messing around with the camera with our friends. So actually, for us, when you're at 10 at night till midnight shooting in a club, as much as it did kind of suck when you're getting a drink like poured in your camera, but actually, still, I'd get a photo and I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's sick. That looks really cool. And it's about doing something that. And like taking this away from photography, it's about doing something that you love, because it takes away those shit times. Don't then seem shit. They seem still like, oh, this is really kind of fun.
Yeah, completely.
I'm getting stuff that makes me happy, makes me enjoyable, and also I'm getting paid well at the same time. Is a bonus. Always treat that, I'd say, as a bonus. The money will come if you really like something. It will, because your passion will shine through to your clients, will shine through whatever you're doing to your consumers and things like that. And therefore, they're more likely to buy into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you've got to ultimately love it. Like, don't get me wrong, staying up till 3 a.m. shooting some club event, like, it was pretty rubbish. Like, I was tired, I was sober. I just wanted to go home and get into bed.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when it came back to editing that video, you know, most of the events were quite cool. Like, you know, cool lights, like DJs were quite cool. And putting that all together into something that, you know, I think the thing about video for me is that you're almost like transforming a real life situation into something that you can make really cool in whatever way you want. You can almost like warp the reality of what's happened and give a feel and, I don't know, a whole sort of new look on something that's happened, but in your own way. And I think that's what I love doing, you know, those club nights. Okay, it could have been completely dead, but you could find a small group of people, get them to dance to the camera, you know, get some cool shots of the lights, get some cool shots of the DJ, and you can make something look really exciting.
Is this then, I was talking to Hector about this at the weekend, is this touching on the fact of falsifying a reality? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Because obviously a lot of the stuff, sometimes you go to an event, it isn't good, all right? But you've got to there make it look good. And you can make things look good with very minimalist.
But that's just
things.
Advertising. Everything is a false reality, really. Like, you know, you see those branding, like you see a big colourful vape and it's like, yeah, that's sick. I'm going to get that because it triggers like certain emotions.
Yeah, it is true. And I guess it's at the end of the day, it's who you're sort of putting your message out to. Adults have that developed frontal lobe, where they realise whatever you see online, don't believe everything you see, fake news, everything that comes like that. Whereas I think the problem is when you're advertising towards kids and things like that, kids are so much more susceptible to influence and things like that. And so
100%. Yeah, 100%.
That's a sort of
definitely
grey area within it. But I don't think that will, and Hector's actually saying, do you reckon that will is in where brands will then come to you and be like, right, we want something that is so real. And I was like, not really, because I think if a brand has a new product, they want to portray that product in the absolute best light. They don't want it where it's not Photoshop and things like that, because actually on a shoot, and we found out, like, there will always be things you miss. There's never a shoot that you go to and you get everything perfect. It just doesn't happen. You've got time constraints, you've got other constraints. Sometimes people won't be there, and so you have to. The post is so important to be able to create.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, you look at the algorithms of Instagram and TikTok; they very much push the raw content of that has less editing, is way more authentic. And I think the people who are authentic on social media do much better than those who maybe aren't.
Yeah.
And so I think it is. Yeah, it's that trade-off of like, okay, you want to be authentic, but then also you want to be able to sell your product or sell your business or sell your service.
It's so true. And I think everyone says now how hard it is to blow up on Instagram, how hard it is to blow up on TikTok's different, obviously, because their algorithm's slightly different. But like TikTok, Instagram especially, you put good content out, it doesn't get seen by anyone. That's kind of the problem of Instagram's gone away from like the businessy side of it. People showing off their photos, photographers and videographers and things. And it's gone more to the side of people dancing in front of a camera and things like that. But now, again, I think it's swung back, and shout out to two people, Frankie, Millie, people that create authentic content that people can really relate with, but that's still good quality, and it's all storylines to it. I think that content, especially now, does so well and gets people so engaged, and especially things around running. Running, as we all know, is a massive sort of, I wouldn't even call it a trend, because it's not going to go away. It's just running now is so cool. Everyone wants to be running. Everyone likes that fitness element now. Yeah. So if you can tie that into a good story and have like good motives around it, good morals around it, you're not just doing it. You're not an influencer who just decides to run because they can get more views. You actually love running, and you've got challenges set and things like that. That content is
it's like good. Anything, you've got to have a passion for it, and that passion will come out in authenticity, and ultimately you'll grow because of that.
Yeah, and I think that's our idea of going forward. Like, we love sport, we love fitness and things like that. So actually, but also we love telling a story. We love you get such a real good emotional element of a video with great visuals through narrative and through a good story, and someone who's got a good backstory and got some cool stuff to tell that could help other people or that could help whatever. So
but you still got to do the bread and butter, you know. You still got to do the corporate events, you know, that those are the things that bring you the income and which you can ultimately use to grow and do more of your passion. I think that's one thing I've definitely found recently is, you know, pumping out video after video that I just want to get it edited and done and dusted and sent over to the client so I can get paid, and then I'm on to the next project. And it's very easy to like stay in that sort of mindset, that grind mindset of like, I'm just going to say yes to everything, keep the content coming out. But then you do lose the vision of why you actually started doing what you're doing. And I think that's why it's so important to put aside that time to make videos or create anything that you want to create. Because I think otherwise you just lose the vision and you end up sort of resenting your work. And like, you know, I think recently, like, both of us have put a lot more focus on that. And then things come from that. I remember we went to Madeira last year, and just because it was January, 1st January in London, we didn't have that many clients. We didn't have much on. So we're like, let's go to Madeira, really cool scenery. We'll get in contact with some backpack brand and we'll just shoot some cool content that looks fun and what we enjoy doing, you know, out in the outdoors on an adventure. And we did that, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And then we made a video and they loved it. And then suddenly, like, you know, a guy, Carmichael, got in touch with me because he saw the video, loved it. And then I worked with him for 6 months last year, and 3 of them were full-time traveling around the world. And that was ultimately that video we did for Stolt, the backpack that we took, that gave me the exposure to someone else, and I, you know, grew so much from that.
Yeah,
so
that's the main thing. It's you get to a point where you are burnt out. You can desire, oh, I want to make 10k a month, I want to make 15, whatever, however much money, but actually to do that you've got to grind hard. And I'm not saying grinding is wrong, but it's, are you still at the end of the day happy about the content you're producing? Is your quality still top par? Because sometimes it will mean if you're creating 5 video or you're doing 6 shoots a week and then you got to edit those as well, you start slipping on your quality to try get these videos out. You've got clients chasing you, and actually it's taking that step back to then go, oh right, I want to just shoot something, as you say, like a passion thing. And then because there's no time element on it, there's no pressure, you create some of your best work that then gets seen by people, and people go, oh, I really like that. Okay, yeah, you might not have a brand in it, whatever, but actually it's the whole idea of, it's just
you've got the full creative control over that. You've got no one saying, oh yeah, can you make that amendment, can you make that amendment? You can do whatever you want with it. And that's ultimately where you learn new skills, because you might think, you might see a shot that you've got, and you might think, oh, like, I want to do one of those transitions that, you know, someone else did in that video. So you end up putting more time into learning new ways of editing or potential new shots that you want to try, which you might not have time for when you're getting paid by a client. So I think it's so important to spend time doing, ultimately stripping away everything and going back to why you started doing it.
Going back to the roots. Yeah, as you say, like, we've just been in Cornwall and we thought, oh, it'd be nice to make a video with our friends. Like, you've got a group of friends, we all get on, and then we like cameras, so let's just shoot something random. There's no meaning to this, and there's no like story to this. Let's just shoot some random shots. And then you start thinking, oh, the light looks really nice when it's coming this way, and oh, having a Pro Mist filter on makes blooms to the highlights so nicely, it gives that filmy look. And then that's then stuff you can carry then into a job, but actually on the job, because you're thinking about, all right, I've got to get this shot, you then neglect the creative elements sometimes of like, oh, I want to experiment a little bit, because there's a time pressure and things like that.
Especially when other people are involved. You've got models, you've got you know, a lot. It's other people's time that you're mainly focused. There's a lot of pressure. Yeah. And but as you say, like, if you spend time doing the stuff you like, you're maybe forgiving some cash that you could potentially be making elsewhere. But if you spend the time doing stuff you love and the passion projects, you'll learn new things through doing it that you can then bring on to future projects that, you know, ultimately increase your quality. So I think you know, when you are pumping out content, and you've got loads of jobs on at once, that's why I think you've got to grow slowly and take on, you know, you don't want to take on so many clients too quickly, because I think a lot of it comes from gaining confidence in your own ability and getting to know your value. Because I think a lot of the time, like this time last year, if I was editing a 30-second highlight video of some event, I would spend maybe half a day or a day editing that. Whereas now I've sort of built up the confidence in my work that I know, okay, I know what shots I got last night. I'm going to put them together and I know it's going to look good. And whereas before I didn't have that confidence, I'd very much spent, oh no, wait, that shot's not that good enough. I'm going to spend ages trying to make a cool transition. But actually, like, just rattling it out, I know that it's going to be good at the end because I've built up the confidence. I've worked on so many projects over the last year that I know what looks good and I know actually my work is good and people do value it. So I think ultimately the most important thing is building up your confidence slowly so you can produce work that you know is good, and then you don't spend too much time on each thing because you know it's good.
Basically. Yeah, it's getting it to the point where it's second nature, and so you're then not second guessing yourself. Like you could be like, oh, this music, is it working? Is it not? Just go with it. If you thought in the first visit, just run with it. Yeah. Make the video around it, because you can make a video around any piece of sort of music. Then you can build a video around that. But like, it's getting to the point, even on shoots with your camera, I don't want to be pressing around on buttons and, oh shit, what does this do? What does this do? Yeah. So it's second nature. I know what shots I want to get, bang, bang, bang. And then you've got the timing within that shoot to be like, right, now let's get some creative shots. Let's get something a little bit different. I'm going to experiment a bit. But I've got the crux of it. I've got the real shots that are going to make up the majority of the video, and then I can sort of just
definitely
do some funner shots that are sort of fill-in shots and things like that.
Okay, so the dreaded question that everyone our age absolutely hates being asked: where do you see yourself in 10 years? And this can literally just be a vision. It could be a frame of what you would love to be doing. Like,
yeah, weirdly, still this. But we've already spoken about cutting back jobs to find the jobs that sort of like align more with you, align more where we started. So going forward, I want to, and in 10 years' time, I'd like to be not pumping out 5 videos a week, 6 videos a week, however many videos a week. I want to be working on things. Maybe you could be doing 1 a month, you could be 2 a month, but it doesn't have how many. It's just videos that really tell a story that haven't just been sort of rushed in the day. It's following a whole journey of someone. And for me personally, I want to be filming documentaries on people, probably through sport and things like that. So athletes, and telling their backstories, things like that. We see all these athletes on TV, incredible people, very talented, but actually their talent to get there is and what they've been through to get there is so interesting, and there's a reason why they're elite athletes and they're the best at what they do. And I want to be telling those stories, and sometimes that means following an athlete for a year. Coming up to the Olympics, you follow an athlete, their preparation for the Olympics, the tough times, the good times, and that creates a really visually good sort of piece, but also a gripping piece that talks to people, and people get to know a person better. And I think actually not only is that good for us, it creates a really good thing, but also for them as a athlete, it's great for personal sort of branding as well, because a lot of the time these athletes with mainstream media, they're media trained, they get asked hard questions, they've got to answer, and it puts them in a sort of dampened light sometimes. They don't get their real personality over, but actually I like to create things where they can fully get their personality across. They can show who they really are, and how that's made them the athlete that they have. So for me, that's 10 years creating documentaries with interesting people. And it doesn't have to be athletes. It could be interesting business people. How they've got to where they are is my idea. What about you?
So for me, I've got a vision, hanging out the side of a chopper, telling the pilot to get lower to the ground because we're not close enough to the professional skier who's using Solomon's new 2029 pair of fat boy skis to, I want to be doing like adventure style kind of promotional content for brands that I love, like Solomon, like, like North Face. I don't know, like working with those kind of brands, that would be like my dream, creating content that you'll be seeing online, or I don't know if TV's still a thing then, who knows. But I think in order to get to that point for both of us, I think obviously you need financial freedom in order to put all your energy into getting to that place. And I think ultimately right now it's figuring out how we can grow our business and turn it into not just us being two videographers working together, turning it into a thing in which we can scale to some extent and ultimately, you know, have cash that we know we've got contracts in for 6 months and we know which maybe corporate clients, you know, are going to pay us X amount. And then once you've got that locked in, we can start to focus on, you know, the brands we really want to work with and outreaching them. And I think so there are obviously like massive steps to get there. But I think it's for us now, it's both working out how we can get to that point.
Yeah. And this all ties back into doing passion projects. We know you don't watch a big ad campaign for a big brand and it's not just going to be a standard shot. It's going to be some new shot, new creative idea, new camera technique, anything different, like whatever. It's always highly creative, and you can't get to that level of creativity and you can't think those shots up if you're just pumping out lots of random videos, because you don't have the time to experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
A client won't. You're doing an event. A client's not really. They want a certain shoot, or a corporate event. They want a certain shoot. They don't want you experimenting and trying to do some really cool things. Yeah. So actually, it's building a side of the business that sort of runs itself, doing those corporate things, because you know you need the cash, you need the money to put these sort of passion projects on that you can then experiment with.
Exactly.
But and you need the time, so you actually need it running itself, where you can have someone, or we can be dealing with clients, but actually as a videographer going out as an editor in process.
I think there's the exciting thing as well about, you know, AI and technology, camera tech in general. Like, it's progressing so quickly. Like, you look back at even drones 5 years ago, like they have just exponentially skyrocketed in the types of shots you can get, which improves creativity. You know, AI now is allowing you to do certain things that used to take absolutely ages to do, and I think that's the exciting thing about it is we'll soon be able to create some awesome content using tools through AI or new technology, which I think in 10 years time, who knows what content will be like, if it will be all run. I think this is probably another whole podcast about AI, but I think you can look at it with two very different views, a positive or a negative, but I think it is exciting, you know, where camera tech is going, like what we'll be able to do in 10 years time is just going to be mind blowing. I don't think we can believe it.
No, and this is obviously a question that gets asked quite a lot by friends, obviously on the internet and stuff, like, will AI take your job? Well, you just...
It will take jobs, 100%.
Let's say it will take jobs. It will take certain elements of the jobs. But, like, this is why I don't want to be a videographer in 10 years' time. I want to be running a big creative agency, because AI could take some shots, drone shots potentially could be created with AI.
It could take all shots.
Could take all shots. You never know. You could program in, okay, Gucci want a campaign, Gucci new bag campaign. You've got to get a couple of shots of that bag so it can build us
using Leonardo DiCaprio's face on this model.
on this model, walking down a street, whatever. That could happen. But
I wonder if they have to copyright Leonardo DiCaprio's face, or like people's faces.
Anyone's faces.
I wonder if there will be like, oh yeah, you have to buy the rights to use that person's face.
But then again, then you get rid of our films. Then gonna be created with AI, because actually you don't need the actors. You don't need to pay them millions of pounds. But circling back, AI cannot take a client relationship. It can't deal with a client relationship. Okay, it can send some emails. It could, but actually, we realise the importance of being in a boardroom or being in a meeting with a client and just reassuring them that you can deliver on things.
Yeah.
That sort of human connection will never ever go. No. And like any job that has any certain thing of any aspect of human connection that's so important, that's paramount to the job they do. Yeah, that is so important.
But I think this goes back to, like, you know, a lot of people our age, like, it's so easy to think so far forward in the future. Like for example, I saw a video last week of the power of AI. It's Sora, I think it is, and you know, you typing in some dogs playing in the snow and it generates that, and it's like, wow. And I was like, holy shit, this is gonna take my job. I had a bit of an existential crisis. I didn't quite know how to think about it, but I think it's so important to, obviously you've got to be, you know, looking forward, and you've got to be, you know, aware of like new technologies or you know, or just in general, like, you know, always got to look ahead, but also I don't think you should look so far ahead. Like, for example, the job you're doing now is not the be all and end all. And I think you should very much just focus on what you're doing now. If you love doing it, then that's great. And that sometimes is all you need. I think when you look, I definitely found like last year starting out, I'm like, how am I ever going to make a living? Like, how am I ever going to support a family being a videographer? But then all the opportunities, all the things I learned last year, just saying yes to everything, you know, you suddenly meet people who are doing such amazing things that have literally come from an opportunity where they've met some random person who's suddenly, you know, opened so many doors. And I think that's, for me now, I'm so much more content about, you know, what I'm doing, because I'm just, you know, I so believe in, like, if you're happy in what you're doing now and you don't look too far forward in the future, ultimately, if you have a positive outlook and you're positive, you'll meet people, and people are everything.
It's so true. And I think the daunting bit at the start is a lack of work and knowing that the sporadity, I don't know if that's the right word, but of jobs coming in, you never know when they're going to come in. So I'd say to any videographer that's worried in that, it's build a solid base. Just build a solid couple of clients and focus so heavily on them to get them your retainers, regulars, well, that they can be your regular clients, and then go out to look beyond that. But don't neglect the ones that you started with, because it's so important that you have a base of money coming in, so that takes that stress away, takes that element of, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills next month? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to live? It's important to build that base, which takes time as well. It takes time, but then go on to expand, then innovate. Like, innovation in every sector of the world and whatever is so important. You don't want to get stuck doing something a certain way and then get left in the wake of other people doing things that are better or more innovative or better use of their time and things like that, because you will ultimately just get replaced.
Exactly.
So actually, in any sector you're in, it's just don't think too far ahead. Because that will sometimes, it's overwhelming, whatever, and it's quite hard to think really far in advance. But just think a little bit ahead. Just have that sort of mindset of, okay, I like what I'm doing now, but actually,
it's a growth mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, a growth mindset.
You know, if you're willing to improve yourself, whether it's your skills, whether it's any form of yourself, it could just be like going to the gym, for example. I think if you're willing to keep on improving, and that's your mindset, it will naturally, you know, more opportunities will come about. So yeah, I think for first podcast, like, this is a complete experiment for us. I think, as you say, it's more of a sort of passion thing, something we can look back on. But yeah, I think some of the topics we've covered, I think we could dive into more depth, you know, further down the line. But
it's just it's a time for us to sit down, reflect on what we've done. It doesn't have to be about the jobs we've done in that month, but just some time to reflect. We spend a lot of time working, and then we'll chill in the evenings. But actually, the time to just sit down and talk about what's going on. Actually, you can then look back on and be like, oh, right, in 5 years' time, well, that's what's happening then. So that's what we want to use this as a platform or something for us to
for ourselves,
reflect on where our minds are at, where our thoughts are at, and what we're doing. And also going forward, like, if there's something that works well, getting guests on to talk about their experiences, not just in videography, in anything in life. And just talk about and just make a place that's cool. But
so thank you for absolutely no one for tuning in.
Thank you for no one
getting
watching.
this far in.
I enjoyed the chat, so it's fine. It's just for us. But hang around, stay around, keep your eyes posted. We'll have more of this going out.
Sweet.
Look forward to the next one.
Ciao.
Bye.